be talking about simplifying and rationalizing radicals. So we're going to look at our first example for number 1, and it says simplify the square root of 24. Well, the square root of 24 is not a perfect square, so we have to simplify it. So what we're going to do first to do this is we're going to factor this, and 2 factors of 24 is 6 and 4. And then we're going to factor those numbers. 6 comes 3 times 2, and 4 becomes 2 times 2. And my trick that I do is I find the doubles. So we have 2 of 2, and we bring 1 to the outside, because it's kind of like doing the square root of 4, which is just 2. And so what we're left over is 2 square roots of 6, because 3 times 2 is 6. Okay. Next one, the square root of 32. We can make that 16 times 2. We can factor the 16 as 4 times 4 and bring down the 2. I have doubles of 4, so I bring that to the outside, and I have 4 square roots of 2. Okay, let's do another example. We have the square root of 128, which is the square root of 64 times 2, which we can factor as 8 and 8 and bring down as 2. We have doubles of 8, bring that to the outside, so we have 8 square roots of 2. Our next one is the square root of 96. So square root of 96, we can use 8 and 12, and then we can factor a 2 and a 4 for 8, and a 4 and a 3 for 12. Well, I notice already that I have doubles of 4, so I bring that out. So I have 4 square roots of 2 times 3, which is 6. Let's go to our next slide. Now that we know how to simplify our radicals, we have to be able to rationalize the denominator as well. We cannot have a radical in the denominator of a fraction, so we have to get rid of it. And I'm going to do a few examples off to the side. So let's say square root of 3 times the square root of 3 gives us the square root of 9, which is 3. So that means if you multiply a radical by itself, it gets rid of it and just becomes the number underneath the radical. So if we get the square root of 5 times the square root of 5, that just gives us 5. So we can use this concept to get rid of our radical in the denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the bottom by square root of 6, and whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So this gives me 3 square roots of 6 all over just 6, because multiplying by itself gets rid of that radical. We also can simplify. 3 over 6 gives us 1/2, so we get the square root of 6 over 2. We can do the same thing down at the bottom. To get rid of that radical, we multiply by the denominator, which is the square root of 10 over the square root of 10. So we get 5 square roots of 10 all over 10. 5 divided by 10 gives us 1/2, so that gives us square root of 10 over 2. So that's how you rationalize the denominator. You have to be very careful though, because sometimes we get a radical that has to be simplified. So what we're going to do first to this one is multiply by the square root of 12 over the square root of 12. And we get 2 square roots of 12 over 12. Well, we can simplify that to be the square root of 12 over 6. But make sure that our radical is in simplest form. If I simplify the square root of 12, I get 4 and 3, and then 2 times 2 times 3. I have doubles of the 2. Bring it to the outside, so I have 2 square roots of 3. So I can rewrite the square root of 12 as 2 square roots of 3 over 6. And I can simplify once again. 2 over 6 gives us 1/3. So it's the square root of 3 over 3. I've got one more problem. Let's multiply this by the square root of 24 over the square root of 24. And that gives us 7 square roots of 24 over 24. Now we cannot simplify 7 over 24, but we can simplify the square root of 24. which gives us 6 times 4, which gives us 3 times 2 times 2 times 2. We have doubles of the 2, bring it to the outside, and that gives us 2 square roots of 6. So we're going to rewrite the square root of 24 as 2 square roots of 26, but make sure you keep that 7 on the front because it's still there. We got to keep the 7 right in the front. And now we can multiply the 7 and the 2 together. So we get 14 square roots of 6 over 24. 14 and 24 are both divisible by 2, so it's 7 square roots of 6 over 12.